Hi guys, we're going to be talking about domain and range a little bit more. Hopefully you've already watched the Dialer robot video. If not, you should watch that first. It'll help out a little bit. So let's go ahead and get started. If we have a continuous graph like this one, and they're asking for domain and range, okay? Remember our friend Dialer. Okay, so when we're talking about domain, remember we're looking from left to right, okay? That's what we get from Dialer's first name, right? The domain is from left to right. So that is, you want to go to the furthest left value on your graph, which is going to be right here, and the furthest right value, okay? And we know since we're talking about domain, we're talking about x values, okay? We'll always point our inequalities like this, and we'll put the smaller number on the left and the larger number on the right. Since this point at the end of our graph is a closed-in circle, we have to have lines under our inequality, okay? That means that that point is included in our domain, okay? So the furthest left value is right here, it's -5. And the furthest right value is +5. So Dialer's first name taught us that. Now, if we think about robot, okay, Dialer robot, when we're talking about the range, we go from the bottom to the top. Okay, well, from the bottom of the, so we need to look and see where the lowest point on our graph and the highest point on our graph. And those points are included, so we know we're talking about range, we're talking about y. The lowest point on our graph is -3. And the highest point on our graph is +3. So our domain includes all values between -5 and 5, and our range includes all values between -3 and +3. Okay, your range is your y values, your domain is your x values. Okay, what does the arrow imply on this graph? Okay, just in case you don't see it, it's right here. Okay, that implies that the graph does not stop there. Okay, it keeps going and going and going on and on and on forever and ever in that direction, which means that our graph will continue to go down in the negative y direction and to the left in the negative x direction, right? So we have no boundary to the left and we have no boundary to the bottom, okay? So let's think about that. When we're talking about our domain goes from the left to the right. Okay, if we're talking about our x value, we know we're going to be smaller than the furthest right, which is right here at +1. But there is no stopping point in the left direction. So the way we are going to describe this is just that x is all real values less than or equal to 1. Okay? And the range is kind of the same thing. The highest point on the range is +6. Okay? We know we're talking about y values, so we know that y has to be less than or equal to 6. But again, there is no stopping point. So there's only one side of that, of this part of the range. Okay? Okay, so let's take a look at this one. It's asking for the domain and range. So again, with domain, we want to find the furthest left x value, right? And that's going to be right here. The graph does not go any further left than right there. So -4 will be less than or equal to, we know we're talking about x, is going to be less than or equal to the furthest right. And that is 5. So there's our domain. We know our range is going to be talking about y values. The lowest y value is right down here where this point comes to, and that's -5. Okay? Then we go all the way up to the highest point. It's right there. It is +4. So there's our domain and range for this particular graph. All right, looking at this one, it's a little bit different. We have 2 arrows. All that means is look at the domain, the left and the right. It is not ever going to stop moving in the left direction or in the right direction, right? So the domain is all real numbers, okay? What that means is that from left to right, it can keep going on and on and on. As long as this parabola keeps growing, it's going to keep going in the left, and it's going to keep going in the right. So the domain is all real numbers. Or you can say from -infinity to +infinity. I like all real numbers better. Now, if we're talking about the range, in the top direction, there is no stopping point, right? But in the bottom, it stops right here. And that is down at -5. So -5 is less than or equal to y, okay? You can write it like this, or you can write it like this. Either way, remember it's going to open to the larger side. So -5 is the smallest, so it has to point to the smallest value. All right, and we are done for today, guys. Hopefully this is helping y'all out. Have a great day.